Hi and welcome to our channel. The Helen Zille Anele'S interview was explosive and so was its backlash.
I've also got to admire how Helen Zille handled this interview. I think it's great. I think it's amazing. I think we need more leaders to be like her. Steadfast, honest, brutally honest, and stuck by her guns. And when the host is rude or insults or tries to trap the interviewee, Helen is there fighting her way out of it and saying, I will not be boxed in and you will not play your wokey ideology on me. And I respect that. I 100% respect that.
Just when I thought that September is concluding, Anele and Helen Zille. Guys, that interview was a mess. That interview was a mess of the merest. It was shady, it was messy, people were angry, there was defense mode. Hey, it was a mess. Being September, okay, fine, sharp. In conclusion,
The Anele and Helen Zille interview created quite an uproar online, which went to show this really was a fight between powerful women who have major influence. Helen Zille defended by an old and more mature audience, while Anele was backed by her young audience that felt Anele became their mouthpiece to defend them against Helen Zille and the controversial tweets and statements she often makes, which Anele had listed as some of her questions. It was loud and distasteful, and a lot of people felt cheated at a chance to have heard Helen Zille answer the questions she was asked in a less loud and heated environment. Something painfully obvious about the debates and comments made after this whole scandal highlighted how frustrated South Africans have become with the ANC. Many coming out to say they no longer care about the color of leaders they'll be voting for, vowing to take their votes to any party that's serious about fixing our country, meaning all parties, may it be the DA, IFP, Action SA, EFF, Operation Dudula, PA, ATM, NCC, and many others will be having fair ground to win over voters as masses express disdain over what the ANC has done to our country. And if Helen Zille can fix current Joburg problems, they will be voting for her. Going as far as to say Anele was speaking to Helen Zille from a black privileged position. While the poorest of the poor suffer from lack of services under ANC's Joburg leadership, many of Anele's fans took their anger out making online videos in defense of Anele, their favorite radio host. Helen Zille supporters such as billionaire Rob Hersov also made a video stepping up to defend her, with many of her fans saying they will take their fight to the voting poll and ensure Helen Zille becomes Joburg mayor. Let's watch some of the videos that went viral after this heated clash, and I'll be back with the rest of my comments.
I just watched the interview, if you can call it that, of Anele with Helen Zille. Helen was magnificent. Helen is tough, resourceful, intelligent, committed. She knows how to run a city, as she's done with Cape Town, and she would be the perfect candidate for Johannesburg. Anele, on the other hand, was rude, insulting, and actually fundamentally unintelligent. She should not be interviewing someone of the caliber of Helen Zille. Anele was a disgrace. Well done, Helen.
Helen Zille is overrated, man. Helen Zille is overrated. If she's that good, if she's that really good or any good, who has she trained to become a replacement one day? Yes, you became mayor of Cape Town, whether good or not, that I don't know. You became a premier later on. Why do you seek to be redeployed in Joburg? Why must she be redeployed in Joburg? Where are the people that you supposedly supposed to have been grooming? A good leader grooms younger people that are going to replace her. I think she's 70 or so. Why are you still involved if you've got people that you've trained? If she's any good, she's overrated. She's really overrated. And very arrogant. There's an interview that she did with the late Sirima Dia on EWN. Very arrogant, but I think she handled her very well. Another interview today with anelemdoda. She was very arrogant, but Anele handled her very well. She asked very relevant questions. She asked very pertinent questions, and you could see she's getting agitated because she's not good. She's just overrated. If you are a good leader, you should be able to reproduce yourself. We can say this. Look at the EFF, for example. Ndlozi is gone. There's Vusihle Lonzi, Vusinawo Tambo, Vuyani Pambo, Vunaleli Chiro, and many. That's reproduction. You know how to reproduce them. You know how to teach them. You know how to groom them. In the DA, where is the grooming? Why can't we see that? Why are you refielding or fielding these old women? Where are the young people? And no, people, when we speak this, they will say we hate DA. We don't hate DA. There's nothing there. Helen is overrated. The DA is overrated. I'm giving you the example with the EFF. When it was left, they say EFF is dead. It reproduces young leaders. There's always young leaders that are ready to come in and show. That shows the organization that is well built. That is for the future. How do you think DA is for the future if you're still refielding a 70-year-old woman who was a mayor, was a premier before? What is the future then? Even if the CIC today, God forbid, it's no longer there, some young person is ready to lead. That's how you see a progressive party. Not this nonsense that it's forced down our throat. Helen Zille is the best. What is the best there?
Well, after listening to Helen Zille's interview with Anele, I just have to tell the people from Johannesburg, good luck. Good luck with getting that lady into office. I do have to say that she's out of touch with reality. And why I'm saying that is this. She keeps on referring to Cape Town, but she never refers to all of the other places that the DA governed since Cape Town. You can only use Cape Town up until a certain point. So you're going to use Cape Town for every talking point, as a point of departure for every debate. What about Nelson Mandela Bay? What about all of the other places? It's because Cape Town is easier to govern. Cape Town is easier to manage. That's what it is. Because Cape Town is segregated. If you were to take Cape Town and Johannesburg next to each other, Cape Town is more segregated than Johannesburg. And I think historically, Cape Town was made this easy to run city. So it's not like the DA is doing amazing things in Cape Town. They can do amazing things in Cape Town because Cape Town is not as difficult to run as Johannesburg or as any other metro in South Africa. I'm going to put that out there. So good luck with that. She believes that, she's taking care, they will take care of the poor and all of that. I just have to say that as a Cape Townian, that means that you're going to get the bare minimum. And she did indicate that in her debate with Anele as well, that the government is only allowed or is only supposed to give you the bare minimum. Everything else you need to build from that. However, I do have to say that, there are certain things that are being done to ensure that certain neighborhoods remain certain neighborhoods and that other neighborhoods, unfortunately, are just too far gone for anything that you implement willy-nilly to make a change. So I'm going to say good luck to Johannesburg, good luck to its residents. I want to see if she's going to make a change. I think it's time for her to retire.
The way Helen Zille was insulted when anelemdoda called the DA corrupt.
That there has been corruption in the DA.
That is hilarious, Anele. You say you're not insulting me. That is an extremely insulting
Guys,
thing to
was that
say.
an insult?
It is a deep insult to say that the DA is corrupt and that I'm corrupt. A
No,
deep insult.
But
Helen Zille, it's an insult to South Africans telling us that the DA is not corrupt. Because, yeah, look at this.
Good afternoon, South African citizens. I am Anku Barker, and some may remember me as a Democratic Alliance councillor in Mossel Bay. In June 2023, I resigned from that position due to fraud and corruption within the DA in Mossel Bay. I hold dignity and integrity in high regard.
And what about the case of the 2 municipal employees that was under the DA that got jailed?
Let me just also add my opinion regarding the interview between Helen Zille and Anele. These are important topics, subjects that we normally don't talk about, issues of trust, race, and political accountability. Anele did well by challenging Helen Zille. However, she failed in balancing between professionalism and personality. The interview would have remained objective and respectful without emotion and being dismissive. Otherwise, that dilutes the exchange. On the other hand, I would say that Helen Zille, she remained on the defense, defending both the principle and the record. But for her to move forward and win over the skeptics, she'll have to move from the defense to the actual tangible promises and action. That's just my opinion. You have a lovely day.
It was explosive today. I'm sure you've all seen the video that's trending between Anele's interview with Helen Zille, the mayoral candidate for Joburg for 2026. There was sparks of fire between the two, and sarcastically too. I'm not here to take sides, but the Iron Lady tried to retaliate and deflect from the truth also. And Anele didn't give her that 5 inches. She was late for the interview, and sarcasm was also flown left, right, and center. When Anele said to her, when she said maybe she can answer questions from viewers, and Anele said, it's a bit late. If you arrived on time, maybe you could answer the questions. But my big question to you is, what difference is Helen Zille going to make in the city of Joburg? We all know that the DA ran Swane, but not for long. It was with Cilliers Brink, but he didn't survive. And we all know that Helen Zille was also a former mayor of Cape Town. The DA is still running Cape Town. But what change have they made in Cape Town? Don't let me get started about crime. They might have service delivery in the posh, affluent white areas, but what about the colored areas? They say there's a tick list. What tick list? When our people are struggling on the Cape Flats. Whether you're black, white, colored, or Indian, you will have to make the difference when you put your vote out there. But my big question to you is, what is Helen Zille going to do differently? What is she going to do to make the people and win the people? I mean, there is so much problems in Westbury, Coronationville, and the list goes on with Aldos, etc., which has a lot of crime. They can't solve the crime in Cape Town with the DA. What are they going to do in Gauteng? And what is she going to do in affluent black areas like Soweto and Alexandra when Googs and Khayelitsha are crying out for help? Public, what do you think?
Anele of 94.7 showed journalists in South Africa how you ask someone like Helen Zille questions. However, there's a statement in Anele's interview that I disagree with. Anele kept telling Helen Zille that she does not doubt for a second that Helen Zille is well qualified to run the city of Joburg. Please, Helen Zille is 74. Additionally, I maintain my position. Helen Zille doesn't give a damn about black people. I mean, this is the same Helen Zille who called black people working in the Western Cape who come from the Eastern Cape refugees. Helen Zille apologized for it, but guess what? Helen Zille repeated this refugee thing and said this.
Why do black people hate refugees so much?
Do you know why? One, we cannot be called refugees in our own country, especially by a white person. Two, Helen Zille has never called white people in the Western Cape refugees. We hear stories that white people from outside South Africa, example Israel and Ukraine, are flocking into the Western Cape, and apparently their legality in this country is questionable. But no, Helen Zille, or any white person for that matter, has never called them refugees. And if that is not racist, I don't know what is. Let me conclude by saying this. Helen Zille keeps on saying that the reason why the Western Cape is doing okay is because they are taxing the rich to subsidize the poor. Do you know what is funny about this? When the EFF tells us, the people of South Africa, that rich people have to pay more tax in this country, some South Africans start sweating in their boots and go bananas. However, when Helen Zille says it is done in the Western Cape, it is crickets all the way.
Hi, this message is for Helen Zille. If you're not Helen Zille, please scroll. You asked Anele today, when was she elected as a spokesperson for all black people? And I just want to correct you. She's actually the spokesperson for Johannesburg, and we agree with her. We're quite concerned. And after your interaction with her today, I don't think this is going to work. We would like to remove your option. You can go back to Cape Town. We're okay here. We criticize, we ask questions. We're normally quite honest and straightforward people. I don't know how Cape Townians are, but clearly this is not a match. And if you can't take those concerns to heart and go, where should I improve? How can I prove it? It's okay. Anele is our spokesperson and she has spoken. You don't listen to her, so it's okay. Bye.
As a black person who lives in Johannesburg, black people struggle to see you wanting to forward them, right? That's what it comes across as.
Anele, when were you elected as the spokesperson of all black people?
If Helen Zille were any more abrasive, Micah would sell her as sandpaper. Helen, some of my best friends are black. Zille literally just tried to prove she doesn't dismiss black people by dismissing a black person. It's like telling someone they swear too much and their reply is f*** off. Because yes, Anele doesn't speak for black people, but she does have a point. Helen Zille is against broad-based black economic empowerment, even though employment equity has helped lots of black people. She's dismissed how evil colonialism was. The DA loses black leaders like Herman Mashaba lost hair, and they stayed on 22% for 2 elections in a row, and Helen shows a severe lack of emotional intelligence when it comes to race. She literally just picked a fight with a black person to prove how much she supports black people. Helen Zille is like Gareth Cliff with makeup. And then, like a melanin-deficient Jacob Zuma, she pulled the apartheid activist card.
Bet I did more to fight apartheid than everybody sitting in the studio.
No, Helen, your struggle history means nothing if you're being racially clueless now. Racism is like farting. It's judged on a per fart basis. You can't fart and then go, oh no, I held a lot of farts in the past. And you, Helen, have been farting like crazy.
I haven't watched Anele's entire interview with Helen Zille today, but I'm going to make it my mission to watch it. But I've only seen that trending clip right now, and I can't say how immensely proud I am of seeing the development in the way that journalists and the citizens engage with politicians who are elderly, because I feel like as Africans, right, we have a particular culture. We have a particular standard in the way that we treat people who are older than us. We give them that reverence, we give them that respect, we give them that space, regardless of whether or not you may be more educated than them, regardless of whether or not they're wrong, you have to give them that space. I mean, for one, this person is lying, is telling a lie. But you can never say an adult is lying. Adults don't lie. Elders, that type of thing. And now we have transferred those values, those communal, that propriety to politics. And then we assume that, we've been doing it where even African politicians who are supposed to serve us, we end up not holding them to the level of accountability and responsibility that they need to be held to. We don't call them out in the manner that we need to in order to do something tangible and change the behavior and change the way that they govern in this country, because we are maintaining those boundaries, that respectability because of their age. And I like seeing people now coming out and saying, no, You're a public servant. You chose to be there. You were not born into this position, and we have to be understanding. You campaigned, you lobbied, you did everything in order to be put in a position where you have to serve the public. So do so. Don't play that card of I'm an elder. And I don't think they do it intentionally. It's subconsciously of I'm going to sit here. I may be lying. I said I'm going to build 1 million houses. I didn't. But nobody's going to call me out and call me a liar. You get what I'm saying? Because I know how it works. I know the status quo, and I'm going to count and bet on that. And it really thoroughly needs to change. These old people are not getting with the program, and I would have to credit the EFF because that Baba Katitizane thing, I genuinely think is what shifted the needle. I remember at some point when they were addressing him in that way, people were bringing up the thing of, we're Africans, guys. No, you can't talk to an elder like this. I think they really turned it onto its head, and it's now finally trickling down to the rest of the society, and we're no longer treating these elderly civil servants. They're not your masters, they're your servants with the kid gloves and the respect that they're no longer deserving because of their actions. And, big ups to them.
Is the DA good at what they do? Absolutely. Again, the Western Cape, even though it has its problems, is the best run province in South Africa by far. I've been to Joburg and KZN and other parts of South Africa. When you come to the Western Cape, it does feel different. Garbage is collected. We have running water. The electricity, even when it's load shedding, is far better than the rest of the South Africa. So there's no doubt, and I will give credit where it's due, that the DA does run the Western Cape very well. But that doesn't mean they don't have skeletons in their closet. But I've also got to admire how Helen Zille handled this interview. I think it's great. I think it's amazing. I think we need more leaders to be like her. Steadfast, honest, brutally honest, and stuck by her guns. And when the host is rude or insults or tries to trap the interviewee, Helen is there fighting her way out of it and saying, I will not be boxed in, and you will not play your wokey ideology on me. And I respect that. I 100% respect that. I admire that. Kudos to her. That's how you handle left-leaning media. She tried to give a little bit of a swat, and Anele served it back in kind. That's fine. Anele probably got the last word there, but there's no doubt that Helen Zille is making waves, and I'm excited. I'm excited if she becomes the mayor of Joburg. Hopefully she can save it. Hopefully she can make a difference. Hopefully she can put an end to the corruption. Maybe this will be the downward spiral of the ANC, or at least, well, the ANC is already on a downward spiral, but maybe this will solidify or be the final nail in the coffin that is the reign of the ANC.
I wrote this yesterday morning on Twitter. Just watched the Helen Zille interview on Anele in the Club on 947 FM. My personal thoughts. Number one, anelemdoda was unprofessional, seemingly had a premeditated agenda, and was subtly aggressive towards Helen. Helen Zille exposed her racism to me, her hypocrisy, and was also very unprofessional. As an aside, her attempt at denying the genocide in Gaza on Newsroom Africa is quite amusing. Next is that racism is not going to end anytime soon. Reading the comments on YouTube is proof enough. Even when you read the comments on Twitter and you read the comments on Facebook, etc., you realize we have a racism issue in South Africa. I'm always tickled when conservative, read racist, white people get angry when their favorite black doesn't perform the way they want and they get out of hand. The DA doesn't take accountability for their failures, but wants all the glory when things go well. The DA supposedly dislikes the ANC, but they are the ones that kept the ANC in power via the GNU, the Government of National Unity, instead of letting the ANC implode via a minority government. Helen Zille has no real plan to fix water, electricity, and other things, besides blaming the ANC and promising that they won't steal money. Tshwane and Nelson Mandela Bay are DA failure stories, but they don't take accountability and keep blaming the ANC. If anything, Helen Zille was saying that they need 20 years to fix anything. Helen acknowledged that places like Camps Bay and Sandton are great because of private capital and not because of government. All that government does is supply water, electricity, roads, sewage, etc. I agree with Helen. The confusing split between local, provincial, and national government is actually deeply disturbing and must be fixed as soon as possible. From who is responsible for schools, clinics, traffic lights, police, etc. Actually, I think this was raised by Anele and the club. But I do think Helen Zille also agreed. The split between local, national, and provincial government is really, really confusing for the ordinary citizen. Helen Zille acknowledges that she and her family are refugees, yet she shades other, read black, refugees. She also applauds white people moving from Johannesburg to Cape Town, but seems to have issues with black people moving from the Eastern Cape to the Western Cape. Anele will get an applause from conservative, read black, or racist rather, black people who hate the DA and dislike white people. Coloreds need to be mentioned, of course, whenever the DA is talked about, because many of them vote for the DA. The ANC and DA do not seem to me like good parties to support for local elections. I'm not sure if Action SA is currently favored when you consider that Herman Mashaba's run as Johannesburg mayor and Dr. Nasipi Moya as the Tshwane mayor currently. It was a very entertaining but very cringe debate in my opinion, very unprofessional and quite heated. People will enjoy it, of course. I did too, I have to admit. A white woman and a black woman arguing over politics. In the studio, a gay black man and a white man were in the background. I couldn't help but think that straight black men are failing South Africa. In their absence, when you look at Operation Tutula, and also just generally, when you look at the ANC, the EFF, and Umkhonto we Sizwe party leadership. Yes, I do believe 947 runs Johannesburg. As an important platform, they influence society, assist in resolving issues, and are a form of leadership vehicle. Helen Zille was wrong to not acknowledge that. Prime Media, which owns 947 and other media assets, was founded by Jewish people. I believe it is no longer Jewish owned in its majority. So Anele has to tread carefully in her utterings. I mean, KFM just recently fired Saul Penduga for rubbish reasons linked to MacG's utterings on Mini Dlamini. So people need to be very careful when they upset their employer who may have biased agendas. I will end here. Go and watch the interview if you haven't. I'm happy to hear your thoughts, whether you agree or disagree with me.
After all that's been said and done, I just feel as South Africans we should be debating over more serious issues. We're way too behind from where we should be, and should wake up as a country to realize no one political party is worthy of our lifelong loyalty at the expense of our communities and country. We should be bold enough to vote people in and vote them out based on their performance. We don't need to just be told of bullet trains. We need to have our politicians and their political parties race to actually transform our country and deliver those bullet trains. And the day we've groomed better leaders who might not even be politicians, as we have seen with the US that's put in a patriotic leader who was just a businessman and removed politicians. Yes, Trump and the US is not perfect, but they are patriotic. Him having been just a patriotic citizen that competed against politicians and won, and the same wouldn't be that bad for SA. And maybe we should build towards those options ourselves. A future with options where we won't only put our country's fate in the hands of politicians who can ruin it with political gains, but also groom leaders that can run as patriotic independent candidates that can fight to make sure their country is run well and can be globally competitive. Do share what you think about these heated debate taking place about Helen Zille Anele'S, and what you think about people who now choose to vote for any party based on its performance and not lip service. Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and leave your comments down below. Also, don't forget to click into our next link video, which is the original clash between Anele and Helen Zille in case you haven't watched it, or the video detailing how Senzoma Kunu was angry when his plan failed to weaken our police services.